We got a real special one today, coming at you live with a defect challenge. Now, the goal is to obviously not play any attacks in this situation, so you already know that we are going to go orb-centric. Now, that also means cold snaps and lightning strikes and all those are off the table. Now you can see I went ahead and went with Niaoun's Lamed here, mainly because the scariest part about this challenge is honestly running into Nob. If I run into the Gremlin Nob, it's going to be really hard to manage that one. And if you already caught it there, that stone calendar is going to be huge. As you can imagine, Frost is my friend, I've grabbed Glacier, and now I have Stone Calendar. This is really a formality at Act 1 at this point, quite frankly. I do upgrade the Zap here just because I'm looking to avoid wasting energy on things like Zap that I'm going to use a lot. Since it's my only lightning card and truly Tempest and other things are going to be the only way to generate lightning, I have to play it a lot. Sundial also huge here with the ink bottle and bag of prep. I'm going to be able to cycle through and avoid playing cards I need to, and then yet again a second Glacier has hit the deck. I mean, this is just a gifted run. At least that's what I thought at the time as this was going on. Now I don't have a ton to add here because these are going to be slow fights, especially in Act 1 when I don't have focus or any way to really do true damage. Stone Calendar is going to carry me Act 1. Now we're going to pop over to the shop here. You can see we got a loop and a GA. So I'm going to take the loop because that is going to be our friend. Remove the strike for a better draw consistency and then have a little left over for that GA. So that is already working on building out a great standalone, help me have block whenever I need block kind of build. Now you see I'm going to focus my loop here because my logic is a lot of my power is going to be playing from, if I get a Dark Orb, I can do a bunch of looping. If I have a bunch of focus, if I have a bunch of frost, I can sit on loops and be able to maintain while I wait for that Stone Calendar. Now normally in a regular Spire fight, I would get the slime boss further down so that my Stone Calendar actually procs properly and doesn't leave a huge amount. But in this case, I didn't have much of a choice, but thankfully I was able to block the majority of damage all throughout this fight. And 19 turns later, we are finally back. Unfortunately, I cannot take those other two, so it's going to be Fission. You can see I immediately struggle with my reaction to grab Snecko Eye. I go and look at my deck a few times. I realize, let's not toss out this run because it's going so well. I actually think I can take Philosopher's Stone in this case, mainly because I am usually trying to do damage while also blocking. At this point, I'm just blocking, so the fear of doing a extra strength across the board isn't so scary. At this point, it is really just rinse and repeat of what we had from Act 1. I'm actually way less concerned with this act simply because 2 out of the 3 elites are going to be multi-combat enemies, so Stone Calendar's going to help immensely into Slavers. And Gremlin Leader could be a little suspect because we can't rely on zaps always hitting her, but for the majority of this fight, I feel pretty comfortable going into elites and hunting out some extra relics. Now we get approached by the Cursed Tomb. I thought about it, but then I realized that the fact is I can't use Necro ever. So if it was Necro, I would have introduced not only a curse, but essentially 0 value of a relic. And at that point, I just said, I'm going to try to keep my deck more consistent, tinier. I don't need to go for the Pipe Dream or the Nylas. Now you see I've been holding on to this Essence of Darkness because it was my plan on using this on a fight where I maybe didn't have a scaling solution that Stone Calendar could fix for me. So I get my double Loops Blade here, which is great. I'll even bring back a Recursion just to do a little extra damage, and then we'll see what happens. And here we are, we're good at this point due to the fact that I am not too worried with doing damage. The Recursion yet again plays huge, and we are done. It's a real shame we haven't came across any Dark Orb cards yet. It's something that would have made this run a lot easier, but so far we only have Zap still as our only offensive card. And naturally I'm going to grab Fission here and upgrade that. That is just going to do immense value for not only the Sundial and the draw, but being able to proc all my orbs where I don't have focus yet. Now normally Slavers is a pretty scary fight for defect, but this is where Stone Calendar just covers up so much. And the beauty of it is I'm playing only skills and defensively, so I don't have to worry too much in general about not being able to do enough damage. I just need to be able to block. Now I keep looking at that Speed Pot and Deep Pot. We'll see if I ever use it in this fight. I'm just waiting for an opportunity where I maybe don't have enough cards because I have wounds in my hand, but thankfully the wound situation has actually been much nicer to me than I had suspected. So we end up saving it here. And now you can see we're at 7, so 52 damage across the board. I'm not going to play any cards because I got my ink bottles set up ready to go. And there we have it. Consume our first actual focus generation. So that'll be huge for surviving the next fight. And of course the Nunchakus is kind of worthless, so I will take the blue key in this situation. But this is where I get a little concerned. due to the fact that I only have a zap card, so I have to rely on one zap that could, but also it potentially will zap the wrong targets, and that isn't very helpful either. Now the Stone Calendar cleans up the other minions in this case, but I still have some zapping to do. So I have one Strike who keeps just tantalizing me by showing up. But the hope is I can get some good zaps here. Now, after watching this VOD back, I probably could have left this zap in the front, and I would have had a lot more use out of some of these scenarios where I was using 4 loops essentially, but hindsight is 2020. At this point, I'm just trying to make sure I have the sufficient block with a Gremlin Wizard attacking along with Fat Gremlin, who is going to be applying debuffs. And this is when I finally realized that, hey, what if I try to do a dual cast? Nope, no luck whatsoever. And again, going for broke on the zap. And then lastly, we get the zap to sit in the front, and we are safe and sound. Of course, rewarded with a relic and in a pot, that it will do me no good, but hey, you know what? Skim is fantastic for Sundial, so we'll take it. Now we're at the stage at the scariest part of the run so far. I don't have great block, and you see I have a dupe and a speed pod, so it's got to be done. I got a dupe, I got a speed pod, and then I'm probably going to hit this consume to give myself the most block possible. And we are back in business, folks. We have avoided the big damage, and Stone Calendar can then do its thing. Now we have a static discharge here on sale. I'm going to pick that up mainly because it's some version of lightning generation. I know I've said it a bajillion times already through this video, is that Zap was our only offensive card we had at this point. So I had to get something. And then of course I have Consume, so upgrading Capacitor only just gives me 3 extra focus to work with. So huge value there. Now the champ is a little bit of an interesting one here because I don't have the greatest scaling solution, but I have to be mindful of when I actually break the HP pool here. So 210 is the target line. My main goal is to get enough focus generated while chipping down that by the time the champ is in its enrage phase, I actually have so much focus in Frost that I can slowly chip my way down through this again. So what you'll see is I'm just going through the motions here, playing the consumes, getting the focus built up, and slowly but surely getting zaps out there to chip away while we work on the champ. Now, I feel pretty confident with 6 focus at this point, so I'm going to go ahead and do this. Go ahead and also try to get Frost, knowing there's a big hit coming up on this next one. Play the Skim. Yep, and there's the Glacier, and look at that. We can pretty much fully block the Enrage phase, so there's no concern, and then I can go ahead and finish the job with a little bit of zapping around. And again, same thing here, zap, we're good. Not that hard of a fight as you would have thought. Now this is fantastic. You can see I drop all those because I don't need the Entropic Brew, but here's a point that I want to talk about. Bias Cognition mainly is a standalone pick, but the fact that these fights are going on for 10 plus turns, Bias Cognition isn't so great anymore. So to me, getting a Seek where I can actually pull out not only my capacitor, but my consume ahead of time and actually get focus consistently, always felt like the right play. And of course, Pyramid, even though it's going to be kind of hard with playing enough of the energy in the cards, I just think that's the best move because it'll allow me to sit back on some cards for turns where there's more problematic damage issues at that time. Now we land in the shop. We have a Strange Spoon and we have Electrodynamics as a choice. You can see I snap pick the Electrodynamics mainly because I just still need more zap. You're going to be sick of me talking about this zap situation I was dealing with, but it's real, okay? I was dealing with zap. Obviously, I'm going to elect to take this, and we get a full HP into Hexaghost, so this is actually a bigger hit than you would imagine, just because 75, you're taking an 8x6. That is one beefy boy. But rest assured, we had it figured out, and I'm going to go ahead and just play. At this point, it is GG with this Hexaghost. There's no way that it's going to get through with me, and I have way too much focus and Frost in my hand to essentially lose this fight. Now, I did consider a second consume, as you saw on that screen, but I didn't have enough orb slot generation to maybe warrant adding that to be sitting in my deck, because there's only so many times you can play consume before it becomes too much of a problem. And at this point, I think with an upgraded one versus unupgraded, I just didn't see the use case of having it, so I went ahead and skipped. Now, I do have an electrodynamics that would be great for this fight right here. I'm not finding it, so it's getting a little sketchy. The other downside of Pyramid here is, well, I need to clean out my hand, and, well, it's hard to do that sometimes when all you have is a bunch of cards like defense. Well, thankfully, electrodynamics does show up. Better late than never. Go ahead and grab the capacitor as well so that I can actually generate orbs. And at this point, this fight is also pretty much over because we've gotten past the hardest part. Thankfully, we do pull a multicast out here. It's not going to be great, but it is going to be something that is useful. And then we go on this nice run here with a lantern on top of a smiling mask. So now we can finally remove that last strike. And Oppo shows up. So that's quite nice. So we go ahead and remove our final strike, Sayonara, and we go ahead and then grab a Chimex. Mainly because we did just pick a multicast up and we also have the reinforced body. And with Pyramid, Cool Headed can go because I don't need to lose electrodynamics. And I'm going to make a bold choice. I'm actually going to upgrade Hologram over Oppo. And the other part of fighting the Awakened one is, in my scenario, powers are good. So I'm immediately going to start using my powers because that is how I actually win this fight. I can't be afraid of giving a little buff to the guy in the birds. Now, all powers aren't necessary to be played. You're going to see I'm going to hold on to Machine Learning and Static Discharge all through Phase 1 because those are not really going to help me whatsoever. They're only going to hurt me by giving over extra energy to the Awakened one. But Loop, on the other hand, that is a staple of the build. And there you have it, Act 3 done, but we're not done yet. No, 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 no. We're going all the way. When we say we're beating the game with no attacks, we are beating the game. That includes the arch nemesis, Shield and Spear. But first, let's go take a look at the shop with 2 gold and think of all the things we could have had. Obviously nothing. And this is honestly not a terrible start for a draw. Being able to get focus right off the bat with my genetic algorithm. The biggest concern is usually turn 2. And the fact that I can fully block turn 2 gives me a lot of reassurance that it's going to be good. And we also pulled up electrodynamics. So that is the core build here. Now I did have a little concern as I was doing this. I was thinking, well, heck, how am I going to turn the other direction? How is that possible? So we spend some time spinning around, figuring it out. Grab the capacitor and another glacier. Try to clean up the hand a little bit with the pyramid just because those cards are essentially just holding me back. And then get a nice zap opportunity, because remember I have electrodynamics. I'm trying to actually lower their HP right before this calendar pops off. Thankfully, we have 4 zaps again, so I can dual cast as well if I wanted to. Not going to. And we get a bunch of zaps, and this will be the end of these guys, essentially. And of course, the luck favors the bold with a beautiful thorns right at the end. Now, I'll be honest, up until this point, I actually wasn't sure if I was going to beat the heart, but after getting the thorns, knowing how easy it is for me to generate frost, I all of a sudden was like, okay, we can do this. I also have a Thorns pot on top of the weak pot and an Entropic Brew. So we're talking at least 5 potions, maybe 6 potions, yeah. And then another power potion, perfect. And that's where I went with Creative AI, because Creative AI can make or break this run. I can get good powers or I can get bad powers, namely Echo Form. Echo Form is the one that we want the most. Buffers are good, bias cognitions are good. These fights are not going to go nearly as long due to the thorns and the scaling nature of the heart. So I'm not as worried about a bias cognition play versus other fights in other hallways. Oh, forgot to mention, of course, capacitor as well can come from Creative AI, which is great for our consume. Now you can see there's a bit of a problem here with this pyramid because I keep getting a bunch of powers generated from creative AI. On hindsight, probably wasn't the right play, but I did get Echo Form, so at the end of the day, I got what I wanted, because this is exactly what it looks like. And at this point, even with 7 strength, doing 47, the heart is no match for me. 108 on this turn, no big deal. I can easily just avoid all this. Not to mention having a buffer, and this is the end of the run. I hope you enjoyed it. It was actually a lot more interesting and fun than I imagined, but until next time, see ya.